In this video, I'd like to compare the big families of pointing devices, also called mouse, and see what is marketing, what is not marketing, and in which case you should care about which feature. Welcome, I'm Olivier Girard, ergonomist, posture therapist, author of the Posture Manual, and creator of the Posture Academy. As I explained in the video in which I reviewed 4 different Logitech keyboards, I have been working as an expert for Logitech, but not anymore, and therefore I'm not paid by Logitech to show their products. We have the Logitech Lift, the MX Vertical, the MX Ergo, and a traditional stupid normal mouse. So you see, between these different models, we have already different variants, which is, does it make a difference to have a traditional horizontal mouse versus a vertical mouse? Does it make a difference to have a wire or no wire? And does it make a difference when the device is moved on the table versus you rotate a ball, or it can also be a cylinder on the roller mouse, for example. And last question, is it the same to have a vertical mouse or another vertical mouse? Let's start by comparing vertical versus horizontal. Behind that is actually the idea of what I call in my book posture rule number 2, which is this idea that the neck will never suffer from being too relaxed. In other words, Mother Nature has foreseen the neck to be relaxed. So let's look at this. You relax your shoulders and you put your hands like that. Now, if you have your palms facing downwards, you see that the elbow will tend to spread outwards, and as a result, you will strain the neck and the shoulder region. And the higher the desk, of course, the worse this problem is. So first point, vertical is not just marketing. Physiologically, it does make sense to mouse in this position. So why is not every mouse vertical? Well, simply because of something that we know well in ergonomics, which is users' acceptance. People are used to these mouses, and for them it's very difficult, or for some of them it's difficult to switch to another concept. The reason why I like this one, the MX Vertical, is that I have been deploying it in a company with 45 people. 44 of them chose this vertical mouse, so the acceptance rate is rather high with this mouse. As we're talking about vertical mouse, there's one thing that I'd like to mention, is that you should not use a wrist rest on a vertical mouse, because otherwise you create this, and this lateral deviation is very bad both for your wrist and for your elbow. It's going to create tendinitis. So a vertical mouse has to be used without a wrist rest. This being said, does it make a difference when there's a wire versus when there's no wire? That will depend a lot on a number of parameters. That will depend on how messy your desk is, because if there's a lot of paper and a lot of things like this, there will be obstacles to the movement of the mouse, and you will see that the mouse tends to deviate further and further and further, and as a result we go back to the violation of rule 2, straining the neck. So that's criteria 1, how clean is your desk. Criteria number 2 is in which type of environment do you evolve. A lot of companies now have flex desk policies. You don't have a desk which is attributed to you. You change your workplace every day and you clean it up in the evening. And in that case, it's not very practical to have wired devices. I recommend wireless devices. Third question is a bit regarding the infrastructure. To my great surprise, the Logitech Lift works with a traditional battery. It's not rechargeable, so often the IT services don't like too much to manage batteries and spare parts. The fourth point to consider, I see that often in embassies and things, is that some organizations don't like wireless communications or signals because they think it can be intercepted. I don't know, but these are the 4 criteria that I often see taken into account. Third question, is it better to have something like this or something that you glide? Well, it depends. Say, for example, if you have hand osteoarthritis, you don't want to spread the working load only on the thumb. And therefore, you may prefer to divide the load over your wrist, elbow, and shoulder joints. But if now you have a shoulder injury and your surgeon told you shouldn't move your shoulder, it's great to have this, because there my shoulder is fixed. And I can tilt the angle to, go back towards a more vertical position. Now, to be very honest with you, when I use that, I have real precision problems. I can manage to bring it roughly here and there, but then when I have to click on small icons or do precise positioning, I don't manage. I know that others manage, but I don't. And there we go back to the thing with user acceptance. Fourth question. Are two vertical mouses exactly the same? Well, it's very surprising, but they weigh the same weight. The Lift is smaller than the MX Vertical, which makes it more suitable to ladies. It also exists for left-handed people. This one doesn't. So, in that respect, this one has really tons of arguments for it, but it does feel heavy. I guess it's because the weight is distributed over a smaller volume somehow, because they're really the same weight, but it really feels heavier, and I feel it there. So, it's not that just because they look almost the same, they will give you the same look and feel. Just to conclude on the Logitech Lift, is it really a great mouse for especially women or people with smaller hands? It can be, but I would be very careful with people who have a weakness around the carpal tunnel. So think in particular women in their 50s or so, because this weight of the mouse creates, in my case at least, strain here, and I don't think that this is a great region to feel strain when you have a weak carpal tunnel. So what's the conclusion? The conclusion is that it's very difficult to have a precise opinion on something that you haven't tested first. But definitely, whilst I know a few companies here in Switzerland that let you test chairs, I don't know any company that lets you test input devices. So, in this field, I think that you can, have a good intuition of some big criteria, but you have to accept that there's a 20 to 30% chance that you have a bad surprise and that you may waste money on something that doesn't work as expected. It happens to me all the time, and I guess it happens to many people all the time.